The ocean is truly mysterious. Many creatures live here that humans still do not fully understand. And aside from that, in the depths of the sea, you can also find various treasures and statues here. And most of all, in the depths, you can also find ancient civilizations. Yes, there are ancient cities that are now submerged in the sea, remnants of the past. And if we really think about it, nothing in this world is permanent. Everything has an end. In other words, there's no such thing as forever. If you were once a powerful empire on top, the time will really come when you'll just end up with nothing. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. What's even more surprising is that divers and scientists discovered these things under the sea. And in this video, we will show you everything they discovered. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to Arvin Polo TV. This is a big help for us content creators. Thank you very much. And now let's get started. Canaanite ghost ship. In June 2024, a team of scientists discovered a very rare ship from the Canaanites. Almost intact, it was lying about a mile deep in the Mediterranean Sea. What we usually know about sunken ships is that they get destroyed, swept away by waves, or buried in sand. But this one, it's as if it was just transported whole from the past. Its wooden hull is still there, and inside hundreds of clay jars are still sealed. It was probably once filled with wine or oil. Just imagine 3,000 years have passed, but they have remained sealed. But here's something even more surprising. This ship was found in the middle of the sea, far from any known trade route. The Canaanites back then were known as traders, who always stayed close to the coast. They didn't sail in deep and dangerous seas. So why was it there? There were no signs of a storm, no traces of a battle, and no crew bodies were found either. It was just silent. It's as if it suddenly disappeared and stopped in a strange world. According to experts, this doesn't just change how we see Bronze Age trade, but it completely overturns everything we thought we knew. The perfect condition of the ship suggests that the Canaanites may have been able to travel much farther than we previously believed. They might have been braver sailors, better navigators, and more knowledgeable about the sea. For now, more in-depth studies are already being planned here. Sunken Nabataean Shrine, Italy. In 2023, while divers were investigating the Tyrrhenian Sea, they discovered something unexpected. A massive stone shrine clearly built by the Nabataeans. They are the same people who built the famous Petra in Jordan. The Nabataeans are known as desert traders. They also depended on camels, and they usually traveled by land, so they were not seafarers. So how did their temple end up here? It's hundreds of miles away from their native desert. At first glance, the divers thought it was just a typical Roman structure. But as they examined the design, the carvings on the stones, and even the direction of the altar, it became clear that it originated from a different culture. The architecture and inscriptions pointed towards Arabia and not Rome. Many speculations arose. According to some historians, it was possibly part of a bold trading mission, an attempt to establish a spiritual religious presence in distant seas. Others believe that this was the result of a diaspora, or the dispersal or migration of a group of people from their original place or country to different parts of the world. It is said that the Nabataeans fled because of turmoil in their homeland and established a new community overseas. This became even more mysterious because there is not a single record about this in Roman texts, even though they were known for being meticulous in writing history. Instead, only local sources mention it. Only legends tell of a sacred place that was submerged in the sea after a powerful earthquake. Now, every stone unearthed from beneath the sea tells a new part of the story. This temple did not simply collapse. It is also proof that the reach of the Nabataeans was much wider than we have long believed. Sawmill Sink Time Capsule, Bahamas. At first glance, it looks like just an ordinary blue hole, the Sawmill Sink on the island of Abaco, Bahamas. But beneath the seemingly calm blue water lies one of the most astonishing time capsules of the ancient world. In the depths of the sinkhole, where there is almost no oxygen or light, the remains of animals that have long disappeared have survived. Giant turtles, enormous crocodiles, and flightless birds. Some of their bones still have parts of soft tissue attached. It's as if time itself stood still. But the most remarkable discovery happened in 2004. Researchers found the almost complete skeleton of a young girl who lived more than 1,000 years ago. She belonged to one of the earliest communities that lived in the Bahamas. From her remains, it was discovered that her diet was rich in seafood, a sign of her community's deep connection to the coast. Among the findings were stone tools and signs of human activity. But the question is, was this child placed in the sinkhole as part of a burial ritual, or was she simply a victim of an accident? No one can answer for sure. With every layer of sediment discovered, more pieces of the past emerge. The stories of animals that disappeared and ancient humans who have almost been erased from history are really true. According to scientists, there are still many hidden mysteries that remain in the depths. In Sawmill Sink, there may be other creatures that we have not yet discovered. Artifacts that could change our understanding of history, and maybe even more remains of ancient humans. Sawmill Sink is not just an underwater cave. It is a natural coffin of time that has preserved the secrets of the past. Secrets that are now slowly coming to light again. Port Marix, hidden Armada, Ireland. In early 2024, a powerful storm struck the coast of Port Marix in Ireland. After the storm, something unexpected appeared. Not just one ship, but 4 ancient boats buried in the sand suddenly appeared, as if ghosts had risen from the sea. When the archaeologists examined them, they discovered that these ships were made of oak and iron, and are believed to date back to the 19th century or even earlier. It's clear that they were built to be sturdy, but not enough to survive the fierce storms of the Irish Sea. The coast of Port Marix is known for its unpredictable waves and sudden storms, which is why more than 50 ships have sunk here over the centuries. But the 4 ships that were discovered are unusual because they have no record in history or in any logbook. There is no clear reason for their sinking, no names, no documents, no history engraved. Only the silence of their decaying skeletons remains. According to some experts, it is possible that these sank during a series of strong storms in the early 1800s. Others believe that these were just local ships that never made it back to the port. What's even more surprising is that the shape of the shoreline here keeps changing. A storm can bury a ship in the sand, and the next one can uncover it again after several decades. Now, researchers are working together to document and save the remains before they're swallowed by the sea again. These 4 ships are not just pieces of wood and steel. They are proof of past adventures and tragedies beneath the harsh waves of Ireland. Pavlopetri drowned city, Greece. Imagine swimming under the sea and suddenly seeing the entire layout of an ancient city. There are streets, gates, houses, and even a water pipe system. That's what can be found beneath Vatica Bay in Greece. Pavlopetri is a city over 5,000 years old and is considered the oldest submerged city in the world. It was discovered in 1967 by divers, and since then, it has been recognized as an extraordinary example of a Bronze Age settlement. Not only walls or foundations remain, more than 15 buildings can still be clearly seen, complete with pathways, courtyards, and tombs. It's as if the pause button of history was pressed and the sea hid it to keep it intact. According to experts, the city was gradually swallowed by the sea around 1000 BCE due to earthquakes and rising sea levels. But instead of destroying it, the water and mud preserved it. Because of this, it was not tainted by looters, modern construction, or the passage of time. Instead, the image remained intact of a vibrant port city connected to various trade routes in the Mediterranean. The silence of the place is striking. According to the divers, it's like walking through streets that people just left, yesterday. This surreal scene prompted some to associate Pavlopetri with the legend of Atlantis, although this is more rooted in imagination than in fact. Nevertheless, it is clear that the city played an important role in ancient trade and culture. Today's studies on Pavlopetri continue using sonar and 3D mapping. Every detail, from the design of the houses to the location of the graves, provides new knowledge about the way people lived during that time. A silent city beneath the sea, but it tells a story that is more alive than ever. Bimini's enigmatic pathway, Bahamas. In the shallow water surrounding Bimini Island in the Bahamas, there is a strange sight that has long been debated by scientists and explorers. A long line of large stones that looks like a road, perfectly aligned, seemingly man-made but under the sea. It is called the Bimini Road, and to this day it remains a mystery whether it is natural or the work of a lost civilization. First discovered in the 1960s, it quickly became the center of attention because the stone blocks, some over 10 feet long, are arranged in an almost geometric pattern. It looks like a bridge, a breakwater, or a road that was built and then swallowed by the sea. Many believe that this was made by ancient people, a ritual structure, a port, or possibly part of a city that sank long ago. But according to some geologists, this is just a natural formation of limestone that was cracked and carved by waves and time. They say it just so happens that the arrangement of the rocks looks like a road. But even so, the speculations did not disappear, especially since it has a connection to the prediction of the American mystic Edgar Cayce. In the 1930s, he said that evidence of Atlantis would appear near the Bahamas by the 1960s. And that's when the Bimini Road was discovered. Until now, this place remains a mystery. For some, it is proof of an advanced civilization that sank into the sea. For others, it's simply an amazing work of nature. But one thing is clear. The Bimini Road continues to attract divers, scientists, and believers in the legend of Atlantis. It lies quietly beneath the sea, waiting for answers that could change our understanding of the past. Aboriginal submerged camps, Australia. For thousands of years, Aboriginal elders have repeatedly told the ancient legend of land swallowed by the sea, coastlines where their ancestors once lived before they were completely submerged. Many did not believe, considering it just a legend or mere symbolism. But in modern times, science has proven their stories to be true. In the northwestern part of Australia, particularly around the Dampier Archipelago, archaeologists discovered ancient campsites submerged under the sea for more than 8,000 years. On the seabed, they found stone tools, blades, grinding stones, and implements used in daily life. Here, it is clear that there were communities that lived on the former coastline before it was completely swallowed by the rising sea levels. What makes this discovery unique is not just the age of the artifacts, but also their connection to the oral traditions of the Aboriginal people. The stories of their ancestors about the rising sea levels were passed down from generation to generation, and now scientists have discovered physical evidence that proves their memories are true. These artifacts show that ancient people did not simply stop when the sea began to rise. They adapted, found new ways of living, and continued to survive in a world that was gradually changing. These campsites may just be a small part of a much wider network of communities that have long been buried by the ocean. Now it's clear that the stories of the Aboriginal elders are not just legends. This is a living history, proof that human memory can span thousands of years, even when the land itself has disappeared beneath the sea. Yonaguni's Underwater Monument, Japan. Imagine swimming in the depths of the sea and suddenly a gigantic structure appears before you, like an ancient temple. This is the experience of divers. It was in the late 1980s when they discovered the fascinating monument under the sea off the coast of Yonaguni Islands in Japan. This place, known as the Yonaguni Monument, is submerged about 80 feet underwater. The large steps that look like stairs, sharp edges resembling terraces, and stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons are remarkable. At first glance, it's hard to imagine that this was made by nature alone. The flat surfaces, straight corners, and what seem like roads or corridors make it look like it was deliberately made by humans. There are also divers who say they've seen carvings on the rocks, shapes of animals, faces, and symbols that have been partially erased by the flow of water over thousands of years. The deeper the investigators go, the more it resembles an ancient city that has long been swallowed by the ocean. If this really is man-made, it could be up to 10,000 years old. The monument is believed to be even older than any known civilization in Asia. This means that there might have been an advanced society at that time capable of building massive structures, even before much of the history we know today began. But not everyone is convinced. There are geologists who believe that this is just a natural sandstone formation that cracked due to the movement of tectonic plates and was shaped by waves and time. For them, this is just a unique work of nature that happens to have a very perfect shape. Until now, the mystery of the Yonaguni monument has not been fully addressed because there is very little research support for it, and so it remains a mystery. Is it a work of nature or a legacy of a civilization long forgotten by time? Whether it is natural or man-made, one thing is clear. The sea holds secrets that could change our understanding of the origins of civilization. Heracleon's sunken treasures, Egypt. There are cities that slowly faded from history, and there are those that were suddenly swallowed by the sea. One of the most astonishing examples of this is the ancient city of Heracleon in Egypt, a powerful port that sank and disappeared for more than 2,000 years. It can be found beneath the muddy depths. This is the waters of Abu Kirbe, where it was first discovered in the early 2000s using sonar and diving expeditions. And when its ruins emerged, it was like peering into a city frozen in time. Temples, harbors, streets, and statues that remained hidden but intact. Before Alexandria rose to prominence, Heracleon was the center of trade and religion in the region. Beneath the sea, massive statues still stand, of Osiris and other Egyptian gods. There are also steles engraved with hieroglyphs, gold coins, and other treasures from a city full of life and history. According to experts, it suddenly sank, possibly due to a series of earthquakes and rising sea levels in the 8th century CE. What's surprising is that after it disappeared, it was almost erased from historical records as well. How did a city so important vanish from the memory of the world? However, the artifacts recovered from here provide hints. An intact granite sarcophagus, bronze lamps that seem ready to be lit, and goods from various places around the Mediterranean. All of these show a sudden tragedy that destroyed the city. Today, Heracleon is one of the most remarkable underwater archaeological discoveries. With every dive, our knowledge about history increases even more. Egypt and the mysterious city that once served as the gateway of trade to the whole world. Dwarka, submerged ruins, India. There are legends we thought were just fiction until evidence emerged from beneath the sea. That's what happened in Dwarka, the known as Kingdom of Lord Krishna in ancient Hindu texts. In the 1980s, divers were exploring off the coast of Gujarat, India, when they discovered a fascinating view underwater. In the Arabian Sea, the ruins of an ancient city were almost perfectly laid out like a grid. They saw stone foundations, streets, and structures that seemed to be made by a highly advanced civilization. The chilling part is that these details resemble those found in the Holy Scriptures. A city by the sea, rich in trade and beauty, that was eventually drowned by the sea. For a long time, many believed that the story was just symbolism, but now there is physical evidence supporting it. Using sonar, clear patterns of squares and straight roads appeared. They also found fragments of objects, anchors, stone implements, and other artifacts that were clearly man-made. According to analysis, their age could reach over 9,000 years. That's even older than the well-known Indus Valley civilization. Of course, there are skeptics who say these formations are natural, created by erosion and tectonic shifts. However, the presence of tools that were clearly used by humans adds weight to the belief that this is truly an ancient city. If it can be proven that this is indeed Dwarka, it would change our perspective not only on the history of India, but also on the relationship between legend and truth. Because sometimes the stories passed down for thousands of years may contain some truth, and the sea has kept their secrets. Baie Underwater Villas, Italy. Imagine a city built not for power, but for endless luxury. That's Baiae, known as the playground of the emperors of Rome. Located beneath the calm waters of the Bay of Naples, Baie was once home to luxurious villas, palaces, and public baths where Nero, Caligula, and Hadrian used to bathe. If Rome is a symbol of strength, this place is a symbol of prosperity and luxury. Here there are baths heated by natural volcanic springs. The walls of the villas were lined with elegant mosaics and decorated with statues. And even though the city has sunk, the columns still stand, the tiles are still attached, and the statues remain intact, as if time stopped and hid all of this beneath the sea. But the same volcano that brought wealth and comfort was also the reason for the city's downfall. The ground gradually sank because of a geological process called bradyseism, a slow rising and sinking of the earth caused by magma underneath. Unlike Pompeii, which was destroyed in an instant, the town was slowly swallowed by the sea until the wealthy Romans eventually abandoned it. Now, the town is like an underwater museum. Divers can swim between the villas, touch the mosaic floors, and face the statues staring out from the darkness of the sea. It's a quiet glimpse into the past, a place where excessive luxury ended in oblivion, yet remains intact as a haunting monument beneath the waves. Atlit Yam's prehistoric village, Israel. 30 feet beneath the Mediterranean Sea, you'll find a scene that is both moving and haunting. A mother, still holding her child in her arms, thousands of years after they were swallowed by the sea. This is Atlit Yam, an ancient village preserved in a way that's almost impossible to believe. It was discovered in 1984 near the coast of Haifa, and since then, it has become one of the most complete Neolithic villages ever found underwater. What sets it apart from other archaeological sites is that it left behind not just tools or houses, but also the emotional scene of the final moments of the people who lived here. Here you can see houses made of stone, a fresh water well, and a circle of standing stones believed to have been used for rituals. The arrangement of these clearly shows that Atlit Yam was a prosperous community, with its own agriculture, fishing, and beliefs, even before the great civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt emerged. But a drastic climate change came after the last ice age. The sea level gradually rose, and possibly a massive tsunami delivered the final blow that buried the village in the depths. The human remains found here are among the earliest to show evidence of tuberculosis, adding more to the story of the hardships and illnesses they endured. Atlit Yam is not just a village that drowned. It is a frozen moment in time, a clear reminder that the sea does not only give life, but can also suddenly take everything away. Roman cavalry relic, Croatia. A fragment of a bronze helmet, half buried in the sands of the Adriatic Sea. That's all that's left from a Roman soldier who seems to have been erased from history. No body, no ship, no sign of battle or tragedy. Only the helmet left a trace of his existence. It was found near Veliki Skoli Island in Croatia by an ordinary diver. Although it was already rusted and faded from being submerged for so long, the shape and details crafted by blacksmiths from the 1st to the 2nd century CE were still clear. This was not an expensive piece belonging to a king or a general. It was used by an ordinary soldier, sturdy and practical for daily combat. What's surprising is that the helmet was found along an old sea route, once frequented by Roman ships. Warships and merchant vessels often passed through here, but despite thorough searching, no other remains were found. There were no bodies or weapons with it either. It's as if the helmet mysteriously washed up alone on the shores of time. Many speculations have arisen. Maybe it fell from a ship's cargo during a storm. Maybe it was thrown away after a battle, or maybe it was carried by the waves from a distant tragedy. But whatever the reason, its solitude is what truly gives weight to the story. In this simple piece of bronze, it's as if we can still hear the whisper of a Roman warrior, a person who once lived, fought, and traveled. But the only thing left in history is a part of his helmet,